Surprise video, Fear Street,
Ooh.
1666.
Fear Street, 1666.
She was not prepared.
I wasn't.
I just pressed record instantly, and there you go. What did you think?
It was I told you, it was my least favorite of the three movies.
Okay.
I definitely didn't hate it or anything. I don't know. I mean, you were talking about the, romance part in the beginning being something that you thought I maybe didn't like, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the drama and all the characters, but, what I told you is that because the characters, the actors are playing the characters in the past, I felt like I couldn't really connect to those characters that they were, but also I think that there was a reason for them to do the juxtaposition like that.
Yeah.
So with the other two movies, it was all about that time period, and this one obviously it's set in 1666 and finishes up in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, I said, there's a reason for the juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
But I just felt like I didn't get as much out of the 1600s as I would have maybe liked.
So I guess if you guys haven't seen this one yet for some reason, and you've watched the first two, this one does take place in 1666, as we know. And if you watch the second one, you know that this ends with our main character of the first movie going back in time in a vision, and she is Sarah Fier. And there was a trailer that we really didn't watch, but we saw a few seconds of, and it revealed that all of the actors from the two previous films were going to be playing different characters set in 1666. This reminds me of Back to the Future 3, where all the actors from the other two Back to the Future movies are playing their ancestors in that film and get to all come back. Biff is, of course, this mad dog freaking gunslinger now, and so everybody kind of gets to come back. This also kind of reminds me of Ginger Snaps, the third one, where all of a sudden it's just set in the 1600s or something, with the two main characters reprising their roles and it not really being explained of what the fuck is going on. It just so happens now they're in the 1600s, and we have no connection to the other two films that came before it, but it is the same characters in a different time period. This one does explain itself to be a vision, and that's exactly what it is. The whole first half of this movie is a vision of what happened to Sarah Fier in 1666, and I thought the explanation for it was rather great. I really enjoyed the kind of flip and the explanation of what ended up being the truth behind everything. I didn't really see it coming. I don't want to reveal anything of what's happening in here, but I definitely felt like this was a spin that I wasn't expecting, and I felt like it really paid off, and it emotionally paid off for me in a bunch of different ways. From the story of the past, which I wasn't expecting, all the way to the story of the future, 1994, because a good half of this movie is technically 1994 Part 2. In fact, it even says that. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but, we had to know we were coming back to 1994 at some point in this, but it happens much sooner than, maybe someone would think.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a problem with that because 1666 was explored about as much as I needed it to be. I think where people might not like it is that the 1666 part of it isn't super focused on horror. And I think that there's, an expectation of what that story was going to be and how it was going to play out. And that because it ended up being much more of a dramatic romance with definitely some satanistic,
Salem witch trials.
Stuff at the end of that story, which is about halfway through. I think that might come too late for some people, that they might just be like, well, what is this? And it's like, well, It's character development.
Yeah.
It's plot lines. It's wrapping up what this story all is.
Yeah.
I can definitely say that after seeing this, that I would be fine exploring more, for sure, in this universe. And the director has said that she would like to do some like Marvel Cinematic Universe of the Fear Street. Now, whether or not they could pull that off, and if they're gonna, tap the well. Oh, we gotta. There she is.
Okay.
You don't want to be on camera? What'd you think of the movie? Oh, there you go. She's out of here. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Marvel Cinematic Universe Fear Street, that I think would be very daunting for sure, but...
Enough! Enough. No one cares about what you have to say anymore. You want to say something? Come here. It's not going to let it go.
No. The first two movies feel a lot more like slashers, and this one definitely, doesn't have that kind of vibe to it. So it is different. I think you're right about people's expectations for it.
Well, that's just right. You said it right there, is that the first two are slashers.
Yeah.
Right? And the third one is like witchcraft, Salem witch trial type of movie that's more dramatic romance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a total shift in tone, which I'm fine with.
No,
you know?
It works for the story. I mean, you definitely get everything explained, and kind of the twist, I didn't really see that coming. There were certain parts that I sort of expected, like obviously the Sarah Fear and sort of her, not being what we thought she was going to be, you know? But the other part, I didn't really expect as much. So I like that it caught me off guard that way. But, and we also, obviously, we were building chairs and we were watching it as well. So I think it would be nice to watch them. Yeah, these chairs. It would be nice to
It's just collapsed.
to watch all three movies back to back, which we talked about doing as well, to kind of get a feel for the story in its entirety.
I was going to do a slasher Sunday on each one of them, but now this third one, the latter half, though, is a slasher to a degree.
Yeah, it is.
They bring in those characters again from the first two. Now, what did you think of 1994 Part 2?
I liked it. I mean, it was... I still think 78 was my favorite, though.
Yes, mine too.
Of all of them, I really loved that one. But yeah, Part 2 was good. Like I said, the explanation that was given for everything and the way that they tie the story up was very satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt good when everything was over. Like I felt like I had all my questions answered. So it's cool. It has like, each movie sort of has, aside from maybe 1666, but they sort of went for that kind of Stranger Things type of feeling with it's not quite 80s, but the glowing lights and the different color palettes that they use. So I really liked the aesthetic of those, of 94 and 78. I don't know. I enjoyed all of them. It was just that this third one was my least favorite. Which one? So 78.
I mean,
was your favorite?
in any of them, one of them has to be your least favorite, right? So I don't know if that's a knock. Like, what's my least favorite of the Lord of the Rings movies isn't really a knock.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that would be, actually.
That would be a hard decision to make.
Maybe Two Towers might be my least favorite by like
that much.
This much.
But overall, I mean,
3 masterpieces in a row. It's hard to tell which one's which. But I don't know. Now that I said that, I'm like, I don't know. The Battle of Helm's Deep. Anyways, back to Fear Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great conclusion. I think that it's a very solid trilogy. I think that they pulled it off. I think that the story is fully realized. I don't feel like, even though they might want to go for some Marvel Cinematic Universe in the future, I don't feel like they left things open to explore on purpose, and didn't just finish off what they were supposed to do here. They finished off what they're supposed to do here, and then of course at the very, 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 very end, they give you this hint tease of something could happen more, or every fucking horror movie ends like this. They have the killer jump up again, or in Resurrection when he opens his eyes. We watched Resurrection last night, first time she'd ever seen it. We watched it on VHS.
It didn't make it.
I actually put up all my VHS over there. We'll get to that though. Anyway, but yeah, that movie's terrible. But I did quite like this. I do hope they explore. I know you like the little kid with the mask.
Yeah.
You'd like to see his story.
Yes, I want to know.
But yeah, I don't know how that would all work, just because of now how we know it works. Because it is explained on how everything works, and I like it. It's a flip, and it explains things, and then I like the aftermath of what starts happening once they figure that out and deal with some things. It's so cryptic.
Yeah.
Can't really say much, but it's a good conclusion. The characters are solid, but as you said, I think because they have the same actors playing them, I don't know if having the same actors playing all the other characters makes sense. Her, because we know she's Sarah Fier, and we see her reflection, and it's Sarah Fier, not the actress who's playing her from 1994. This is the Sarah Fier that we know is the actual Sarah Fier. So everyone else should look like they're like themselves. Not, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an in-universe reason why they would look like that, other than to connect her to them, like they're...
Well, there's characters from '78 that she doesn't even know. So I think the juxtaposition is supposed to be like the Shadysiders. Like, it's supposed to be all these people who are, their ancestors are...
the ancestors.
Yeah, everyone
they look
that's lived
exactly
there.
the same.
Well, no, like, not literally, but that's kind of, I guess, what is the shorthand, the visual shorthand for the viewers, is that this is, because
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
It's not the worst thing
They
ever.
do it in like every single television series that runs too long. Anyone that's kind of slightly supernatural, or even ones that aren't. Fuck. Even Northern Exposure had an episode where they went back in time, and everyone in town was all the actors playing different characters. They do this in so many things. So this is nothing new. I'm fine with it. I very much enjoyed it. I don't know where I'd rate it on the 3. I'd have to watch them all 3 back to back at least one more time and in succession before I could make that I don't want to say final stamp, because I could watch them again and change it yet again. I mean, that's how it always works. Your opinion's only as good as your last viewing. I've definitely watched movies for a 15th time and then been like, I don't even like this movie that much anymore. Or the opposite. Or I watch a movie for the 3rd time and I'm like, wow, actually, I think this movie's pretty great. Why I watched it 2 other times when I hated it, I don't know, but sometimes you gotta give movies other chances. But yeah, this is a good one.
Yes.
And definitely not anticlimactic. I think it pulls off what it wants to story-wise, and whether the execution works for you on them using the same actors, or splitting this up into 2 parts, or being more dramatic, or I don't know. Maybe that won't work for you as much, but I do think the story is fully fleshed out, explained well enough, and we get a solid enough conclusion, but also leaving it on a note of I could get more and be fine with it. But I want this story to be done, and anything else that's explored is, some side story or later story that maybe references this but doesn't really have any super connection to it. Can keep this confined to a trilogy. But yeah.
Yeah.
So let us know. Bye.
Bye.